Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and today we are going to be talking about the state of the 2023 election. The results that came out from last evening's election night, which shows Democrats doing a very big victory lap up across the nation, from Virginia to Ohio to Kentucky to Pennsylvania to numerous parts of the country in state legislative races, in important governor seats, right? All around the country, the Democratic Party came out with the upper hand, with the exception of Mississippi, in which Democrats lost the governor's race there that they were entirely expected to lose, but did significantly better than many people expected when it came down to margin. The main takeaway here, as suggested by the Associated Press, is that Democrats won big on abortion rights this Tuesday. Again, up across the country, we can see it. In the Virginia state legislature, Democrats won back control and flipped back the House of Delegates from Republican control. On issue 1 in the state of Ohio, a constitutional right to abortion, Democrats win here, yes, with 57% of the vote. On legalizing marijuana in the state of Ohio as well, 57% of voters concur to this issue as well, with a very similar voting coalition voting in favor of legalizing marijuana. In the state of Mississippi, Democrats narrowed up this race to being a 5-point race, closer than where it was back in 2019, when Democrats arguably had a lot more on their side when it came down to presidential approval and enthusiasm for their party. In the state of Pennsylvania, the Democrats won an open Supreme Court race here, a partisan race. Democrats win statewide by roughly 6 points. And then finally, the big one of the evening, in the state of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, the Democrat, won and maintained his governorship against Daniel Cameron, the incumbent attorney general, who for a long time was seen as the frontrunner in the race up until recent, in which Andy Beshear overcame Daniel Cameron and won with 5% more of the vote, ultimately putting him ahead compared to his 2019 victory of less than half a point. And so looking at these major victories in 2023, it sort of puts a halt in the narrative that has been painted by the mainstream media that we are looking ahead to a red wave in 2024. Now, looking at the articles from Politico and the New York Times and Washington Post, again, the mainstream media going into this race, going into 2023, the expectations weren't too hot for Democrats. Joe Biden had recently dipped down to just a 38% approval rating nationwide, and presently speaking, on Election Day, Joe Biden was disapproved of by 17 points more than he was approved of nationwide. That is a 17-point deficit. Even back in 2022 on Election Day, President Biden was down just 10 points, nearly doubling in the negative from where he was a year ago. But the interesting thing about that is that voters simply didn't seem to care. There has been a huge narrative that has been spun, mainly incorrectly, looking at the 2022 midterms, that President Biden was dragging down Democrats. I think the narrative here that can still succeed, that we won't know until 2024, and that I think we'll maintain because of the dooming and glooming on presidential elections from both sides of the aisle, is that President Biden will drag himself down. You see, a lot of Democrats, Republicans, pundits in the mainstream media looked at the approval rating and looked at the 2021 election results when Virginia went red. Let's pull that up because I think it was definitely a turning point. For a lot of people, it was definitely a position where, you know, they were considering, what does this mean for the future of the country? What does this mean for the future of the Democratic Party? And the reason for that was because if you look at the election results from the governor's races in past elections, 2021 in specific, Virginia went to Glenn Youngkin by 1.9%. Now, why is that significant? Well, 4 years prior, it had gone to Ralph Northam in the race by 8.9. A year prior to 2021, Virginia had gone to Joe Biden by 10 points. And a lot of people pointed out the approval rating of President Biden around November 2021, when he was disapproved of by around just 6 points, which is crazy to think about. Just 6 points more than he was approved of. His approval rating was hovering around 44%. And Democrats, Republicans, independents, pundits, journalists, correspondents, everyone was pinning it on President Biden, saying that he was weighing down national Democrats because in New Jersey, Phil Murphy, the incumbent Democrat, won by just 3 points when 4 years prior he won, you can see in this margin, by 14 percentage points. So a significant narrowing up in both Virginia and New Hampshire and New Jersey leading into 2022, and Biden's approval rating was even worse. At this point, the standard, general notion was that Republicans were going to have a red wave, They were looking at a number of seats that they were expected to pick up, and it ended up falling through. Republicans picked up just 10 seats in the House. Kevin McCarthy, a week out from the election, was gloating that Republicans might pick up as much as 50 to 60 seats. And that's not unrealistic, right? In 2010, Republicans did just that. The 2008 majority for Democrats went from 257 down to just 193, Republicans gaining 63 seats in the 2010 midterm elections. And then you fast forward to 2022 and they pick up just 10 seats from 63 to 10. And guess what? Biden's approval rating was in a worse place in 2022 than Obama's in 2010. Obama was just disapproved of by around 5 points nationwide. In 22, Biden by about 9. And you look at the Senate races too. Democrats did phenomenal. They won Pennsylvania. They won Georgia. They won Arizona. I mentioned these states because they were all states President Biden won by a point or less. They won New Hampshire. They won Nevada. States that usually go to Democrats, but still very, very competitive. Democrats ultimately came out ahead. And the reason why this was so significant is because it put a halt in the narrative that a red wave was upon us. But as President Biden became increasingly more disapproved of since 2022, the narrative refused to hold up just because of the midterms. 2021 fed into it, then 2022 said, let's reevaluate. Maybe Democrats aren't running as far behind as they might think. Maybe Democrats are actually doing better than expected, but it was maybe seen as a fluke by many. Then you go through 22, you go through early stages of 23, and you find that in the early months of the year, Biden starts to depreciate, and then it gets to a point where, okay, it narrows up. Democrats are a little bit more hopeful by March, but then the months go on. It gets worse and worse and worse. And today, yesterday on Election Day, Biden was disapproved of with 56% of the country disapproving and an approval rating of just 39%. So how do you pitch this to the American voter? We elected a Democratic president who has approval ratings worse than President Trump's, worse than President Obama, worse than President Bush at this point in time. All of these things in the 21st century, the least popular president today in the capacity of their terms in the first 4 years, or maybe the only 4 years, depending on how the election goes. And yet somehow Democrats sweep the country. It's because there's a disconnect here. Because President Biden does not seem to drag down Democrats the way that Obama did, the way that Bush dragged down Republicans, the way that Trump dragged down Republicans. That is thrown out the window. It seems to be this vicious reoccurring cycle where Democrats doom and gloom because of President Biden's approval rating and yet somehow come out on top. To a point where Andy Beshear can win by 5 in a state Trump won by 35. To a point where Virginia can be bluer than where it was just a year out from Biden winning the state by 10 points. Where a red state, a Trump plus 8 state, legalizes marijuana by 14 points and abortion on the same ballot with similar but slightly different coalitions. Where a state like Pennsylvania, which recently elected a Democratic senator, Democratic governor, and Biden, yet all this doom and gloom around the state for 24, just elects a Democrat in an open race, which typically goes to Republicans. This was previously held by a Republican. Democrats just maintain control of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court here. Democrats were very worried about this one. They win by 6 points across the state. You start to see that the progression here for Democrats has been only upwards, and yet the narrative from the mainstream media has been consistent that Democrats are doomed for 24. That, Kennedy Jr. is going to enter into this race and Biden is going to collapse. Because what we have seen consistently that is very different than any past president in the past 3 decades is that President Biden and the Democratic Party are immune to losses in very, very big circumstances. Immune to them in the midterms in a way that we really shouldn't see it. There's no reason the Democrats should be doing so well in the toss-up column. There's no reason that 23 should have came this way. So what does this mean for 2024? Well, a lot of people are talking about how these election results are good for Democrats and specifically honing in on the issue of abortion. I do not deny that the Dobbs v. Jackson decision did change a lot about the current complacency of the party, the priorities of the party. But at the end of the day, Democrats knew and know how to effectively strategize and message on this issue. Republicans do not. Republicans have been on the offense for 50 years. Roe v. Wade was Roe v. Wade was delivered in 1972. 50 years after that, the Supreme Court decides we made the wrong decision back in the 70s. Dobbs v. Jackson allowed for abortion bans, and Republicans are the ones who collapsed. Because I think they came from a point where they were saying, we are going to make a decision that we believe is morally right, but politically unpopular, but I don't think they believed or understood the ramifications of that. Because 67% of the country believes that abortion should be legal in all or most cases. That's a fundamental problem for the GOP, and they will not be able to strategize strategize on this effectively with someone like Donald Trump at the helm of the ticket. You can't take someone who gloats about overturning Roe v. Wade and trying to say that this is someone who's going to be good on abortion rights. Voters don't believe them, and quite frankly, they don't care. The Democratic Party has always aligned with their issue on the issue of abortion since the 70s, and they know that. And now that voters see more at stake, like voting rights and gay marriage on the Supreme Court's docket, that's when they turn out to vote. Turnout isn't phenomenal. It's not going to be as high as it was in 2020, but right now, based on these 23 and 22 election results, it is clear that Democrats don't need to be dooming and glooming as much. I never think that they are on track to have a solid re-election. I think 24 will be as close as 2020, but I do think writing them off now is a very bad choice. I think looking at a lot of the punditry from members of the Democratic Party that are saying that Biden doesn't need to run, maybe they're right, that someone like Gretchen Whitmer or Josh Shapiro or Raphael Warnock would do better in the general election. But the question is, Biden has already announced, why would they run? They can win with Biden. I do believe that Biden can win re-election. Sure, it'll be hard, but that's how it always is with an incumbent president. President Obama, I think a lot on his campaign, thought he was going to lose in 2012. They obviously didn't want that to happen, but you saw the state of the economy. You saw the state of his approval rating. He was disapproved of. The economy was in a worse place then than it is now, right? So you have these factors that externally we're saying Obama's going to lose. The Romney campaign was very confident going into that election, and I understand different circumstances. But there are a lot more factors at play that I think voters absolutely care about. Abortion will never go away as a mainstream issue until Republicans know how to talk about it, and I don't think they will ever find a way to talk about it. Nikki Haley tries to walk that fine line where she says, okay, I think we need to find a consensus, but that consensus will never be found. Blue state Democrats will never violate the filibuster to enforce any type of restriction or ban on the issue of abortion. It just simply will never happen. And so until Republicans find a way to either slightly move over into the legal with restrictions column, slowly but surely move into a 15-week, maximum instead of 6, instead of 0 in some states, they are never going to win on this issue. And the Biden campaign knows it. And I think a big reason, too, why President Biden has stayed in this race is because despite being disapproved of for the overwhelming majority of his presidency, the electoral results do not match it. I wish I had pulled this up before I started this video, but there's a document that shows the 2023 and 2022 special elections. And it shows that in 2023, Democrats have outperformed their last performances in previous elections by 10 points. The narrative here that Biden needs to leave the race is not accompanied by election results where Democrats are being defeated, where Democrats are being dragged down by President Biden. We would be in a very different position if the 2022 midterms had gone towards the GOP. Even in 2010, when President Obama saw a super significant loss, I mean, you can even see it there. I didn't pull up the Senate map. I should have. I will do that in just a moment. 63 seats in the House. You go to the Senate and you say what happened here too, or Democrats went from 59 to 41, at one point 60 to 40, thanks to Arlen Specter in the state of Pennsylvania. By the time you reach 2010, Republicans pick up 7 seats in the Senate. Democrats are hoping for just holding on control, maybe picking up 1, maybe losing just 1. Democrats, Republicans aren't vying for this 7-seat advantage. You can see a huge change from 2004. Democrats losing Illinois, losing Indiana. Look at some of these states too, right? Democrats lost in Illinois, Obama's home state, that the year prior voted for Obama by 30 points. Democrats lost big across the country. Connecticut narrowed down to 12. Washington was 5, right? California was 10 against Carly Fiorina. You might recognize her name because she ran in 2016 too. You even look in Massachusetts, I'm not sure we can find it, but there was a special election. Massachusetts went red, right? That was a huge issue because in 2004, look at the margin there, or not for 2004, look at the margins in the years, 38, 39 points. Look at 2008, going for the Democrats by 35 points. Ted Kennedy passed away. That election in 2012, Elizabeth Warren ended up winning against the incumbent Republican there, but still held by a Republican in 2012. That is insane to think about. That is not what happened in 2022, and it builds a compelling case for Biden to be on the ballot again, because I think the big thing here was that Biden was going to drag down everyone, that he was going to ruin Democrats in Virginia, just as he supposedly did in 2021. The Democrats weren't going to win in Ohio because of this. That Andy Beshear was going to go down because of this. The Democrats were going to be blown out of the water in Mississippi because of this. That Pennsylvania was going to go red because of this. Because of this approval rating that looms and looms and looms but never acts. And the only time we will really be sure about whether or not President Biden is in a position of unelectability is probably on Election Day. Because what these election results last night confirmed is that even with an unpopular president, a weird circumstance in the White House, and the dynamic in the 2024 primary, voters still elected blue candidates. They wanted Democrats to lead them in the state legislature in terms of issues on abortion and marijuana, in the governor's mansion, in the Supreme Court. Democrats pulled out ahead, despite everybody saying that Biden was a poison to the party. He was going to drag them down because now not only the midterms, but last night elections confirm a year out from 2024 that this approval rating means a whole lot of nothing to a lot of voters on down ballot races. The question is now, does it matter in the one-on-one against President Trump? So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2024 presidential election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.